Hello everyone, welcome to Security Tidbits and Byte. My name is Eddie Oaks and I'm hosting. Today's topic is installing a virtual Cisco ISE machine on an ESXi host using an OVF file.
Alright, so the first thing you're going to do is go ahead and go into your ESXi server and log in, or your ESXi host rather. We're going to go ahead and click on virtual machines. Then we're going to go ahead over to create and register a VM. From there, we're going to go ahead and deploy a virtual machine from an OVF or an OVA file. Select that. And then we're going to go ahead and hit next. We're going to go ahead and enter a name for the virtual machine. Now this is just how it's going to be displayed on your ESXi host, so put whatever you like. I'm going to call mine Lab ISE. What we're going to do next is we're going to go ahead and click down here so it can open up your file explorer. And you can see the files that we downloaded. This was a set of files that we downloaded from software.cisco.com. And the OVF file contains these three files within. If you notice the MDF file, if I try to open it, it does not upload. You really only need the OVF and the VMDK, but even if you forgot, try to upload all three. It doesn't matter, it'll only take the two it needs. So we hit next, go to the spinning disk. This is the only hard drive I have running, but just make sure you have over 300 gigs for this eval that we're running. And you can check your specs based on the machine you're running. The VM network we're selecting is because of the that's the network that we're going to put the IP address on. So make sure that the IP address that we're going to assign to ISE is connected in the network mappings to this VM network. We're doing eval mode, dig provisioning, power on automatically, and then we're going to go ahead and select next. But if you also see what I'm looking at right now, it says the deployment will need 4 vCPUs and 16 gigs of RAM, just so you know. Alright, so look through all the rest of the information and go ahead and hit finish. Now if you look at the bottom right, you'll see that the machines are currently running. You'll see that they're downloading right now, or rather installing and doing all the processes. So we're going to go ahead and speed up through this, and whenever this is completed, we'll go ahead and get back to right where we picked off, or right where we left off. Right where we left off. Here we got down at the bottom, you see that now it's completed successfully. And we're going to go ahead and select Lab ISE. That process took all but 15-20 minutes or so. So we're going to go ahead and open it up, and we're going to see that it says type setup to configure the appliance. This is going to run you through the wizard, through the setup wizard. So we're going to type setup and hit enter. And then we're going to see that it says enter host name. That's going to be your machine host name, DNS reasons, certificate reasons, etc. And then your IP address name. The IP address. So the IP address, remember, it has to be in that VM network mapping. It has to be within that subnet. The permanent net mask, as well as the permanent default gateway. And no IPv6 for the default DNS domain. We're going to go ahead and select ocasio.local. That's the domain here that I've set up for this lab. Primary name server, it's going to be the domain controller over here. Now for time, what we got to make sure that we do for time is very important. Is that I haven't set up my NTP server here, but in your environment, always set it up to your AD environment, wherever your AD. And I normally like to also, as a secondary, like to go to put an NTP server of wherever your Active Directory is getting its time from. And the reason I like to do that is because it's just one of the things that I've seen fail the most. If your time is off by more than 5 minutes, for all the Microsoft guys in here that know this, of course, already, it breaks the membership, and therefore you can't authenticate successfully with AD. So make sure if you're doing AD authentication, you're doing the time, authenticating and as close as you can with the the Active Directory domain controller. Time zone's also big. It was always difficult to change the time zone. It's become more a little bit easier in these newer versions, I feel like. Yeah, it's a lot easier to change now, but still I just feel like it could give errors. So just make sure you put in the right time zone that you want in your box, you know, at that moment. We're not doing SSH at this moment, and for username, you see it already says admin, so I just hit enter. And then for password, I just typed in whatever password twice. And now another thing to be looking at is where it says the fourth line up from the bottom says copying first CLI user to be first ISE admin GUI user. The reason why I'm saying that and accentuating that particularly is because the CLI user and the GUI user are two complete and distinct accounts. Okay, so right now when we created admin and I put my password here, you know, was password 1, right? So that's my username and password here. Admin with password 1 as the password. So that's my CLI password. When I go to log into the CLI, that's my CLI password. However, when I go into the GUI, guess what? That's also my GUI password. Now the reason that's so important is because later on when you go to administer and maintain these accounts, you have to remember that the CLI password is completely different from the GUI password, which is reset with a different command. It's maintained differently. So just make sure you're maintaining your credentials appropriately. Now I ran through all of this. This process normally takes about 30 minutes or so. I cut through so that you can see all the steps that you would see, except that I put them in within a couple seconds increments so that you can, you know, not have to sit here hours or 30 minutes with me. You haven't heard me talk for 30 minutes. So yeah, I've kind of sped up the process. So now the system's gonna basically just reboot, and you're gonna see it. And once it reboots, it's gonna take about 15 minutes. So that's why you see there's already commands where it says show application status ISE. It's the command that I ran. And it says initializing, but once the application server says running, you can go ahead and go into a browser here, type in the IP address, and you can see the ISE GUI. Log in with the same credentials that we said before. Remember that they're the same as you put in for the CLI, but they're from a maintenance standpoint in the future, you're going to have to make sure you know, maintain those separately and appropriately. So that's basically it. I mean, you're gonna log in now. It takes a few seconds to load and give you the smart call home telemetry. I said I'll provide later. Gives you a license warning, accept and close, and there you have it.
I hope this has been informative. Thank you for watching, and remember to protect yourselves out there.